Hey, what's going on, crypto people? It is the Crypto Siege with another day in the life and the crazy life that is the digital asset space. Good morning. Happy Sunday to you. Wow, I got to tell you, some interesting stuff going on out there in the digital asset space. Kraken, it's definitely doing this thing. That's going to be exciting. There's a podcast with the CEO from Kraken and I believe Andreas, I can't pronounce that dude's last name, the Bitcoin guy. There's a podcast about 30 minutes long that I discovered. James Rule shared it with me. I have not listened to it though, but I will check it out later on today for a video later today. That's going to be an interesting conversation, I think, for sure. Listen, guys, don't sleep on what Kava's doing with Harvest.io, guys. I'm going to share some stuff with you about that today as well. Listen, this new Visa card with that symbol on there is very, very interesting to me. A symbol for XRP, obviously if you turn that thing 90 degrees, it looks very similar, does it not? I'm going to share it with you. I don't know what the deal is with trademarks for symbols. I don't know if they even did one. But I am going to share a tweet that perhaps ties them together. I don't know. I'll let you guys decide. So listen, guys, this is your XRP Ripple day. Oh, by the way, I do have some incredible stuff from Miguel Villas from back in the day. I believe 2017, maybe even 2017, I believe. So interesting stuff and a great conversation that was had in the Twitter feed. I'm going to share that with you guys as well. Very, very interesting stuff. So make sure you stay tuned in for Miguel Villas. Wow, what a smart dude. What a very, very smart dude. All right, guys, listen, this is your XRP Ripple daily news. And around 0 to 10 minutes. Shout out to Win Mullet. Missed that dude. Haven't seen him on the stream for a while. Hope everything is well with you, Win Mullet. All right, guys, this is your XRP Ripple daily news in around 0 to 10 minutes. So let's do this. I want to start here with the job opening at Ripple. Interesting. I didn't realize that they had spots in these locations here. Offices in San Francisco, New York, London, Mumbai, Singapore, Sao Paulo, and Reykjavik, which is in Iceland. In Iceland. I get the New York and the London and the Mumbai, right? And Singapore, those DC, obviously. You got them in Mumbai and Dubai. I get that. I don't get the Reykjavik, Iceland spot. I don't get the reason for that. A modern office in Reykjavik's financial district. That's interesting to me. All right, the job offering is the senior software engineer for liquidity at Ripple. Ripple is growing rapidly, and we are looking for a results-oriented, hands-on engineer to help build the next generation of payment platform that enables banks to instantly settle cross-border payments to create the Internet of Value. Ripple's distributed financial technology outperforms today's banking infrastructure by driving down costs, increasing processing speeds, and delivering end-to-end visibility into payment fees, timing, and delivery. Talks about ODL. On-demand liquidity is a product that leverages digital assets and blockchain technology to improve the cost, speed, and transparency of cross-border payments. This highly strategic product for Ripple is powered by the superior speed, low transaction costs, and scalability of the digital asset XRP. We're looking for a senior software engineer for our next generation trading platform that provides market access to Ripple products and liquidity to service our partners. What you'll do is build an enterprise-grade distributed trading platform that provides real-time access to crypto markets, liquidity sourcing and aggregation, execute algorithm modeling and implementation, put together a prototype, new solutions for complex software problems, and implement them for production cloud deployments. Listen, the fact that Ripple, Ripple is always on the move and they're always looking to build. They have the resources to, to build out, right? And I think that's hugely, hugely important for a fintech company in today's world to be growing, right? To be expanding and not contracting. Very much like Celsius. Celsius has job openings for like 29, 30 different job openings. Ripple is constantly with job opening. These are companies that are expanding. I think this is a very, very interesting job opening. Again, for me, I don't understand the Reykjavik, Iceland thing, but I'm sure the people at Ripple do. And I know it's a lot of new people on the channel and new to the community, the XRP community and the digital asset space. That's why I wanted to point out this job opening. It's hugely important to understand in today's time. If you're blessed to be a company that is able to position itself and to be growing and expanding is huge. The liquidity channels, I'm going to let Miguel Visa share some stuff with you to help you guys understand it. But ultimately, for me, what I see is the greater the challenge, the greater the reward. And this is what I see is going on with Ripple. I think that Ashish Birla really, really summed it up when he says, either we're going to make a dent in the universe with what we're doing at Ripple, or we're going to fail, right? I'm liking their chances. I'm liking the chances that they've gone from 100 partnerships to 400 plus, right? In a matter of a couple of years. I'm liking their chances. I like the move that they made with MoneyGram, and that strategic partnership I think is genius. I think the fact that they resourced, if you will, the Spring and that development company, which is essentially furthering putting together more use cases for XRP and the XRPL ledger. It was an absolute genius move. Because in the end, the software is the software. In the end, XRP is XRP. XRPL is XRPL. The ILP is ILP. It doesn't change it. It doesn't somehow make those different assets inferior because it's taken time to put it together. It doesn't make it inferior. It's still superior. So I personally, for me in the Crypto Sieges home, we like our chances with XRP. Really, 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 really do. But again, guys, this is an entire new asset class with a bunch of assets on there that can give you 5x, 10x, 20x, 50x, and 100x returns. Just understand that. Make sure that you do your own due diligence, do your homework, do your research. Learn about platforms like Celsius if you have not. There's a link in the description of every one of my videos. Learn how you and your family can leverage this new asset class that includes DeFi, that includes digital assets like XRP, that includes CeFi or MOIP, money over internet protocol like Celsius. Learn about these platforms. Learn how you can begin to think and act like the 1% of the 1% in this new asset class. And you can, my friends, you can do those very things. Never, ever forget that you are in a position to lend your assets, but you have to have them in order to lend them, right? So, so you want to pay attention to and develop a habit of thinking and acting like the 1% of the 1%. And don't let anyone tell you that you can't get there and that you can't do that, because you can. You, my friends, are an early adopter in a new asset class. This is an asset class that is most likely going to swap up other asset classes. Never ever forget it. You're in a blessed position to be an early adopter in this asset class, this new asset class. Blessed. Look at the digital assets. Look at the different spaces or verticals in this new asset class. One is DeFi, one is CeFi, if you will, or MOIP, okay, with Celsius. Look at the different things. Look at Kava, and I'm going to go over Kava and Harvest.io as well. That's another vertical in this space. To me, an amazing company with good intentions behind it that are looking to do great things. With Brian Kerr and his team there at Kava. So, and you're early to the game. It's really, really exciting, right? Because the cream will rise to the top 5 years from now. You know, 5 years from now, the best of the best will be here. And my biggest bet for me is that Ripple, without question, 5 years from now, is going to be here, right? It's going to be here. So, all right, let me go over something else here with you guys. Let's go over some stuff from Miguel Visa. Again, Miguel Villas. I said Miguel Visa. Miguel Villas, sharp dude, no longer with Ripple. He's now the COO of Link 2. But I want to share something with you guys because I think this is important. Let me share Tony Valentino stuff first. This, guys, remember Tony Valentino was one of those guys that came into the crypto Twitter space and then just kind of disappeared. But he had some very, very interesting stuff to say. Let me find the first ones if I can. Is it here? No, that's Avalanche. Dude. Guys, forgive me, guys. I lost track of this Tony Valentino thing. There it is. Let's do this one. So, it just says Miss Old Tony, right? Tony Valentino. Shout out to Ian Northrup for sharing this. I think it's a great reminder. Because, you know, there are some people that kind of come in this space and it feels like they just kind of know some stuff, right? And it feels like they're on the inside. Or maybe they hang out amongst the insiders. And Tony Valentino, for me, sounded like that, right? Sounded like one of those guys. It says here, and Ian Northing, big time community member and value add to the community. Thanks for sharing, brother. Swift will begin settling payments via quarter settler. And this will be announced on the 23rd of September. Now, I don't know when this is, but that's interesting. I don't know what year that was. But anyway, that's very, very interesting there. Swift will begin settling payments via quarter settler. This will be announced on the 23rd of September. We all know that Swift is working with R3. So this is some reminder stuff from back in the day, I'm guessing. My tweets are for my records. No one is forced to agree or disagree. We've been saying for years that a new system will use a digital currency. Is this recent? I don't know. We've been saying for years that a new system will use a digital currency to replace the U.S. dollar as a global currency, and people laughed back then. They laughed back then. They ain't laughing anymore. The small-minded wait for official announcements. The small-minded wait for official announcements. Forgive me, guys. I am dealing with a cold, or not a cold, or something that just happened to me yesterday. The new financial system is ready with XRP and gold at the center of it. This fusion of digital and physical gold, is what currencies will peg to and value against. The system is ready to go, but the script says they need chaos and panic before presenting it. New decade 2020, new system. This is some interesting stuff. So script says they need panic. Wow. Yeah, and this was a screenshot from a year ago. Okay, this is from a year ago. Okay, so there it is. Tony Valentino. I remember he has some very, 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 very interesting tweets. So take that. Now listen to me. This part here, we're going to go into this part here. This gold, pegged to gold. We're going to go over that in another tweet as well. I'm trying to, where was it? Or here it is. And this is from some Miguel Villas videos. And then there's an interesting, very, very interesting conversation that took place from a lady called All the Money. Back and forth. She sounds like she knows what she's talking about. Yeah, All the Money. Am I following her? Yeah, I'm following her. XRP will settle all the money, smart regulation. that foster innovation, common sense, independent opinions are my own. Yeah, so it's a nice conversation between her and one of our favorites, Joe Schmo. He's very much like Ralph Kahn, man, but I'm going to share that conversation. And she references Jim Rickards. I am going to find the video with Jim Rickards. I promise you I'm going to find it. I believe I have it saved. And the reason why I want to share it with you guys, because I just find it very, very fascinating. We all know Jim Rickards is a, geopolitical OG insider. Big time, okay? And I'll never forget the conversation that he had, like a little round table, 6, maybe it was 4 or 5 of them. I'll never forget it. Talking digital assets, talking Bitcoin, right? The Bitcoin conversation went like this. One dude talks about it, another dude talks about it. The young lady's kind of moderating. She says a little about it. Jim Rickards says some stuff not so cool. Like his conversation was, that BTC thing, I don't think so. Yeah, he said in the video, I believe it said it goes to 300. Right? He's like, that Bitcoin thing, I think it goes to 300. Yeah, right? They're having different conversations all around kind of digital assets and different things, right? So, back and forth again about Bitcoin, right? Jim, not so positive, right? Had something to say. Okay, so they're talking a little bit more further, and Ripple and XRP comes up in the conversation. Now, here's the thing. The same 2 or 3 people have this conversation about Ripple. In fact, it was hugely positive. Except this time, Mr. Jim Rickards didn't have a word to say in this video. And I'm going to share it with you guys when I find it again. Now, I find that very, very fascinating. The video's been played before by other content creators. Again, these same 2 or 3 people going back and forth and singing the praises of Ripple and XRP. Mention the digital asset XRP. And Mr. Insider himself, Mr. Geopolitical OG himself, Jim Rickards, had not a peep to say. Not a word, not a mumble, not a murmur, nothing. Not a nod. Yay or nay. Cool. If you don't agree with the fact that the other 2 dudes were singing the praises, shouting from the rooftop, singing the praises about Ripple and XRP, then say so. You just had all this stuff to say about BTC, but not a peep, not a word, not an alphabet, not a syllable about XRP. How do you explain that? How do you explain that? DNI, if you're listening, my friend, digital nomad investor, if you're listening, my friend, how do you explain that? Because just like I know, Mr. Jim Rickards loves to talk. How is it that in this conversation about Ripple and XRP, he has not a thing to say one way or another? How do you explain that? Someone please help me out in the comments. Help me out in the comments of this video. Explain that one. And trust me, I'm saying yay or nay. I'm not saying you have to agree with the 2 dudes that were singing the praises of it. I'm just saying you all of a sudden you got nothing to say and you got everything to say about BTC, about Bitcoin. How do you explain that, guys? Interesting stuff. Anyway, I digress. Let's go to Mr. Miguel. Let me do this. Make sure I got this right. Miguel Villas. Interesting. Shout out to Stuart XRP who shared this. 2017, Miguel Villas. What's going on, Stuart? XRP, big time value add community member. We appreciate you taking the time and resources to share with the community, brother. We really do. So 2017, Miguel Villas, 2017. First step to custody ensures they can get larger financial institutions more comfortable. Sit on 60 billion XRP. So the Goldman Sachs wants to open up their trading desk. They don't have to find XRP. they can just give me a call. Primary lender in the market. So these are some quotes. These are some quotes from Miguel Villas in this particular video. So let's check it out.
If people are looking, because there is no recourse if your assets disappear from your wallets, is insurance, right? If somebody's willing to insure those losses, then that can get larger financial institutions, I think, more comfortable with the idea of custodying the assets. I think also it's interesting, there are folks looking at this, right? I mean, there's Gemini custodies and IPIT custodies and Kingdom Trust custodies. So it's not like no one is doing it, right? But we've yet to have kind of, Goldman Sachs or Morgan Stanley or State Street, Boney. These guys have not jumped in yet, even though that you hear whispers and rumors that people are looking. But one of my jobs is to, again, create this liquidity pool for XRP and build a big capital market around it.
Just to kind of, for the new folks who don't know who Miguel Villas is, he's a former Ripple employee, but he was in charge of global markets for, essentially building liquidity markets around the world, if you will, for Ripple. He's no longer there. He moved on a few months ago, and he's over at Link2 as the COO. But his background, I believe, is from Goldman Sachs. I think he at one time was at Goldman Sachs. Very, very, very sharp guy. You could tell. You check out his posture there, right? Posture is, and I'm not talking about how you sit in the chair. I'm just thinking about how you carry one's self and how you speak with a certain level of confidence, right? Miguel Villas is that dude.
Because without liquidity, we can't fund. We can't create the liquidity that you need for funding payments through some of the products that we're building. But even if you had, and I know it's all kind of chicken and egg, but even if you had the prime brokerage model and you wanted to offer leverage to your clients, that means that you now have to go out there and source a bunch of Bitcoin or Ether or XRP, and that's not easy to do, right? I think one of the advantages that we have as a company is the fact that we sit on 60 billion XRP. So the day that Goldman wants to open up their trading desk, they don't have to go find, XRP. They just give me a call, which is nice. I think it's, and interest rates in this market are pretty expensive, so it's a nice recurring revenue stream one day. So but that is a problem. That needs to be solved somehow, right? Because you can't just have one person doing it. Because truthfully, what happens is that Goldman borrows from Morgan, that borrows from Deutsche, that borrows from Credit Suisse, and it's a little bit of ring around the rosy, and they all end up borrowing from a central bank. We are using it for investments, right? So we are funding other companies with our XRP. You'll hear some stuff about that as well. But really, we don't want to get rid of all of it because we do feel like being maybe a primary lender in the market will be helpful as we try to build liquidity in the space. So, the idea that we'll be better off with no XRP, I think, is not one that we're
a lender, right? And so that was in 2017. And what did they announce sometime in 2020? Right? A loan division or department at Ripple, right? Providing working capital to SMEs. Remember that? You guys remember that? And so they did move forward with that plan. And that is in motion. When custody comes up, I immediately think, oh, well, the next logical step is obviously prime broker services, large banks offering a suite of products. Large banks, 2017. Miguel Villas from Ripple. Large banks offering a suite of products in crypto at some point that mimics what they do in FX, equities, commodities. Large banks offering a suite of products. We all heard about Kraken, right? We all heard about Kraken, got that nod to become a bank in the US, right? This is Kraken Exchange. The Kraken Exchange got the blessing in Wyoming to become a bank, a digital asset bank, right? We all saw that. Let's listen to this one as well. This is only 1 minute and 40 seconds.
Previous panel, and custody came up. The idea of moving large blocks of liquidity through these liquidity pools, which are disparate and kind of broken up, and is an interesting one, especially when you compare it to traditional markets. One of the things that I'm fascinated by is really the lack of leverage in the system, and I think it's one of the things that really constricts the amount of liquidity that's flowing through the exchanges and the OTC houses. I know we'll probably touch on some of this later, but the fact that everything is basically pre-funded and one-to-one limits the amount of liquidity that goes through, especially the larger cryptocurrencies. So I think things are getting better, certainly, and folks like Circle and a few others in the OTC space really are kind of the trailblazers in that space and allowing to take that risk. But once we get folks to be able to go long and short in any considerable size and leverage those balance sheets, I think you'll see that get better.
That feeds well into the next question of when can we expect those facilities? What does the timeline look like for leverage in the system?
Yeah, that's I was in the back of the room listening to the previous panel, and custody came up, and when custody comes up, I immediately think, well, then the next logical step is obviously prime brokerage services and large banks offering a suite of products in crypto at some point that mimics what they do in FX and equities and commodities. I think until we solve custody, we can't solve that second problem. And I do think once we solve that second problem, then these markets will begin to look like other markets. Until then, really, your number one place for liquidity is the exchanges, and the credit risk that you want to take there, or the credit risk that they want to take with you. So,
and here's that both of, again, this is 2017, right? And so he talked about custody first, and then being able to provide liquidity. The custody thing just got the blessing, did it not? Mr. Brian Brooks from the OCC gave banks the permission to custody these assets. So you see how we are progressing as a new asset class and as an entire ecosystem. And then I don't even know if it was 2 months after Brian Brooks made the announcement about banks being able to custody. Now here comes this exchange called Kraken. Becomes the first U.S. bank, first exchange, crypto exchange, to become a digital asset bank. You see how it's progressing? I'm told that the CEO from Kraken back in the day used to hang out with the people over at Ripple. I'm told they have a friendly relationship, is what I'm told. But my point is, this was 2017, and he pointed out the hurdles the hurdles or obstacles, we call them hurdicles, that the entire digital asset space faced. And those have now been executed upon. We've knocked those down. Let's listen to the last one here. Hopefully this is not the same one.
XRP is going to win the payments case, and we think Bitcoin will be a store of value, much like gold. And I think when you look at gold, and I cut my teeth on gold, I spent 15 years as a gold trader. That space was an interesting one because nobody is naturally short gold. You don't eat it. You're not going to build your house out of it. You don't put it in your car. So in a vacuum, if gold goes up to $10 million an ounce, you don't really care, right? Similar to Bitcoin. But what that means is that you have an imbalance because there are folks who don't need to hedge one side of risk. And there's only folks who are long it, and they only need to do one thing and sell. So for a long time, that created this dynamic in gold that always was going down. That changed dramatically when the ETF came out. Because now all of a sudden said, well, you can democratize the access to it. And people say, well, I am short one thing that gold helps with, and that's risk. Right? Everybody's short risk. So that changed that balance to the point where now gold could start to rally. I look at Bitcoin and I see it somewhat similarly, obviously in different points of its development, given how much older gold is than Bitcoin. But at the end of the day, you need people using the stuff for something, right? The liquidity has to come from users of the technology, of the assets, of the currencies.
And that's the biggest challenge, right? And it's not the biggest challenge. It's really the end answer. The light at the tunnel for the mass adoption of digital assets is in the utility of the asset. Bottom line, it's in the utility of the asset. Whether it be institutions, whether it be central banks, whether it be governments, whether it be countries, the end game is going to be utilities. We like to say on the channel, utility will rule the day. Ultimately, that's just the way it is. Ultimately. And I always say on this channel, look, we have to make a decision on what is, because what is best for the overall space. And that's challenging, right? That's challenging, right? I talk accountability and loyalty a lot when I'm in my business, when I'm doing some different trainings. I talk accountability and loyalty a lot. I talk loyalty a lot, right? It's another word I'm thinking of. I can't think of it right now. Because commitment, and loyalty, right? And a lot of times, we can think of ourselves and family as the ultimate loyalty level or commitment level, right? A lot of times we can think that. But I would humbly submit to you, and when it comes to the digital asset space and and other things, this and ultimately for us to win, we all have to win, right? So what can you and I do to ultimately allow for all of us to win or be in a position to win, right? And what I liken this to in the digital asset space is the DeFi space. In the DeFi space, right? If you get the game, and trust me when I tell you, the vast majority of it is a game. When you get the game, okay, and you see what's kind of going on, and you want to play that, first end I win, last end you lose. You want to play that game, right? How is that benefiting the greater goal, the bigger goal, in my opinion, which is that we all win? And what I mean by that we all win is that this space grows and evolves and becomes mass adopted and is legitimized and is looked in the same way that traditional finance is looked at. Can we do that in the DeFi space where the first in I win, last in you lose mentality? Right? Because cool, you understand the game and you won. You were first in, you won. You got notifications. You're all over the different sites to learn the next new one's coming out, and you get in and you win. But your neighbor didn't get the word. He comes in last and he loses. Is that the bigger picture? Is that the greater gain? Is that the big win for this space? And ultimately, just like Alex Mashinsky says, you have to decide which one you're going to do. Are you going to play in the game where everyone wins and we're able to get and gain mass adoption? Or are you going to hang out in the DeFi, first win, last in loses type deal? First in wins, last in loses deal. I get it. You won. I get it. You and your family won. I get it. And I'm not mad at you. But do you want mass adoption or not? Do you want mass adoption or not? That's the bigger picture. I choose to participate in platforms that promote the bigger picture and that give mass adoption a bigger chance because of doing things the right way for the greater good of you and I as the individual, minus the games. So anyway, I digress. Let's continue on.
The reason FX is a $5 trillion a day market is not because there are a bunch of high frequency traders who trade all day. It's because there's a car company in Japan that needs to pay somebody for parts in dollars, and they have yen and they need dollars, and somewhere along the line that swap has to happen. So until we get to the point where I think we start to embed these technologies in real economics, I think you will see a sort of a cap in terms of liquidity and volume. You know, it's easy to be long this market because there's a lot of folks who have made a lot of money in it who are not going to sell. So there's some selling pressure that you don't have to worry about. And then, as I mentioned before, it's really difficult to get short in any institutional size. So there's another selling pressure that you're probably not going to see. So I think you'll see these dips when people get scared, but really the large holders, they're not getting out. These pops in price, which
it's so important to understand that, because the Tim, I think Tim Draper is a good dude, but the Tim Drapers and the Mike Novogratzes of the world, okay, who promote the space and primarily promote Bitcoin, you got to understand, just like Miguel Villa says, they made a lot of money in the BTC ETH space. They're not selling it. They're not selling. They're holding. They're hodling. You got to get that. You got to get that. But ultimately, utility is the win for this space. And BTC hasn't done it. It hasn't proven the use case. They had to pivot to you. Ultimately, in the beginning, in the white paper, says peer-to-peer cash payments, peer-to-peer, right? The movement of cash amongst peers and payments. It didn't happen. They had to pivot to store value, because ultimately what happened for those guys, ultimately the bottom line, no one wants to say it. Ultimately, they saw the money. It's just the truth. They saw the money because there is a little foundation behind Bitcoin. Just ask Roger Ver. Ultimately, they saw the money and decided to go with the money and said, well, we could modernize and kind of fix some stuff. And they ultimately decided not to. That's the bottom line. So they never got that utility thing, and they're not going to get it. It's not going to happen. Ethereum has the utility because a lot of people are building on that blockchain, right? A lot of people are building on a blockchain, but it can't scale. It's having massive scaling issues, massive. ETH 2.0 because keeps getting delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed and delayed. That's why Flare is here. The Flare network is a game changer. It's going to change the game because it scales value and payments, transactions, if you will, both. It's going to change the game, but it's built upon the XRP ledger, right? FXRP. Because listen, if you can't solve problems, right? Great ideas are cool, but you got to have great ideas that solve problems at scale. XRP and the XRP ledger solves a tens of trillions of dollar problem at scale, right? At scale. RippleNet is going to be massive, but RippleNet is just one thing from Ripple. Like a lot of people think it's the thing. It's not the thing. It's one thing. It's one thing. It's not the thing. It's not the, right? It's just one of many things that they have. We say in this channel all the time, the ILP, the XRP ledger, Codius, XRP, just pick one. And Codius is just kind of hanging out, just waiting, just kind of seeing, they're still building. So our words already come out that they're still building and growing that Codius, improving upon it, just like they're still improving upon the ILP. But just pick one. Utility at the end of the day will rule the day. Which is the last thing that I wanted to share for you. Listen, I'll share this real quick. You guys kind of decide for yourself. Let's look at this. Hilarious. So listen, Richard Bell, Senior Director of Strategic Accounts at Ripple. This is what his thing here says. Now look at the little arrow. This is kind of, right? This is Senior Director of Strategic Accounts. I'm just reading. Key to the success achieved has been gaining the buy-in of key decision makers. Let me read this part first. While traveling the world, I have enjoyed the opportunity to forge collaborative relationships with multinational clients and create the pathways to exploit emerging technology to exploit emerging technology to improve the performance of banking, payments, and mobile products. Key to the success achieved has been gaining the buy-in of key decision makers and clients, including Visa and Vodafone, and partners. So it says decision makers, clients, and partners. In parentheses, it says including Visa. Make of that what you will. Look, you see the symbol there. Listen to me, my friends. It can easily just be an X. A little fancy way of doing an X. Easily. Okay, but you make of that what you will. I do love the concept behind this X1 Visa, though. You know, the acceptance in gaining access to this card is based upon your income, not some legacy credit score, you know, prove yourself to me deal that is essentially, what's the word I want to use? Just like the casinos. It's not designed for you to win. You got to run through hoops to kind of get this credit score stuff. It's rigged against you, this credit scoring crap. So the idea of income, which you can look to do and improve upon yourself, right? Even if you got a gig and your boss says, yeah, this is what I'm paying you. You can go out and do a side hustle, get yourself a cash flow business and increase your income, not dependent upon someone else determining how much you are worth. You can go out there and determine how much you are worth based upon your efforts, right? I love this idea of it being based upon one's income. So I would definitely, my dude from the channel, Deep Mind, reached out to me, and I'm definitely going to look into this card here. What a good deal. I love that. But you got to make of what you will of this symbol. I mean, you know, I don't know. Got to make of it what you will. But I know if you turn that thing a little bit, it looks like the XRP symbol, does it not? Certainly does. All right. So the last thing I wanted to share. Oh, wait a minute. I think I wanted to share that back and forth. It's quite a bit here. So there gets a little chat going on in the feed here, and this lady, All the Money, says some very interesting things. So, and I'm following her. Yes. So he says gold is really not going to help XRP liquidity. Rather, liquidity will come from economic necessity and FX use. I disagree with that first statement and agree with the second. For example, in order for XRP to handle the volume of FX, the price of XRP will have to rise. Yet we see SCs are going to be backed by gold or a basket of assets. Going to be backed by gold or a basket of assets, according to Joel Katz in video from October the 9th. People will need, I'm trying to figure out what is SC. Is that some kind of coin, security coins? SCs. Yet we see SCs are going to be backed by gold. Anyway, people will need confidence in national currencies. So fiat will most likely be backed by gold. This is what she said in December of 2019. Governments and central banks have been accumulating gold at alarming rates. And I think the word pretty much on the street is that the fiat currencies of the world are going to be backed by gold. We've all been hearing about this gold standard, right? So we shall soon see. Interesting comment from this lady here. All the Money. According to Jim Ricketts, gold will need to be valued at 10K to support world money supply. We've all heard him say that. So perhaps XRP will also be pegged to gold. Pegged. She's going to explain what pegged means. Pegged to gold. Read this short article to get the full picture. Joe Schmo comes in and says, when you say peg XRP to gold, what do you mean exactly? Surely you wouldn't want to make peg the price of XRP to a real world asset, because XRP is deflationary in nature. Am I misinterpreting what you said? She says pegging is like a ride along, where the SC is guaranteeing the transaction and the pegged asset provides the stable exchange rate. This is what she says. Fixed exchange rate system, in parentheses, sometimes called a pegged exchange rate, is a type of exchange rate regime in which a currency's value is fixed or pegged by a monetary authority against the value of another currency, a basket of other currencies, or another measure of value, such as gold. This is apparently from Wikipedia. So that's what pegged means. That's what pegged means. I still believe, ultimately, let me see if I cannot find this. I can probably find it faster if I just go to my personal documents, but let me see. I do this a lot. So, but I believe ultimately, the chart from Marvin Gaye ultimately is, here it is right here. This is becoming more and more for me the most likely scenario. I think I got something from Baba Cugs said something about west to east. I have that saved as well. But ultimately, I believe this is what things are looking like. To me, this is what looks like it's falling into place. Behind the curtain, what's happening right now? Mr. Trump, Xi, and Putin are ready to push the plans faster than the plan rolls out. Faster the plan rolls out, the better. Nobody will control the new financial system. SWIFT system soon to be replaced. It won't be there for long. Before 2020 or by 2020. Any of these things seem like this happening? Change of structure will absolutely occur. Change of structure will absolutely occur. Digital credit, and in parentheses, this says trusted liquidity will soon to be injected, which will be XRP. This is what it says in this chart. SWIFT to AIIB. Transfer of system west to east. And in here, it also has HSBC is in between the two. And I wish I could find a tweet where it had, I believe, the vice president of HSBC moving to take the main spot at AIIB. But in any case, Hong Kong-based bank, HSBC, plays a key role in transfer of system old to new. Liquidities are still flowing at the moment, left to right. Okay, then it says AIB will use of CIPS, beginning of the quantum financial system, new, before or by 2020. Gold-based XRP, in parentheses, true liquidity, as real-time settlement. And on the bottom it says, dollar system is now gone. However, fiat is here to stay. The dollar system is now gone. However, fiat is here to stay. You got gold here in between the dollar and XRP. And you also got this gold attached to AIIB. Gold is back with his new friend, the standard of the new economy. This is what I ultimately believe is coming to fruition. This is what it looks like to me, Ultimately, this is what it looks like to me. Interesting thing from Tony Valentino. Swift will begin selling payments via quarter settler that will be announced on the 23rd. I can't even tag Swift or R3. Both blocked me. That, my friends, is hilarious. Did I say the other one? So there it is, guys. Listen, I know it was a long video. I had other things to share, but I am going to wrap it up. Ultimately, I believe that diagram is, for me, that looks like the thing that is most likely playing out, not to be played out, that is playing out currently. That's what it looks like to me. All right, guys, listen. I am going to end this video like I do all of my videos and remind you guys of this. Old money doesn't want you to win. They don't want us to win. They would rather us remain a cog in their perpetual wheel of trading our time for dollars. They don't want us to play in the same playground that they play in, where we allow our money to work for us. This is our chance to win, guys. The digital asset space is our chance to win. We are in the midst of the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of man. Are you participating, or are you standing on the sidelines? Here's what I do know, that the battle for you has already been fought, and the victory is yours. Go get it. I'll talk to you soon, guys. See ya. Bye.